So I was just listening to the video of me talking to myself, and I couldn't help to notice that I just sound like a kid on a playground who hasn't had any friends to talk to for a really long time. So I'm probably gonna try and be a lot more like orchestrated with pacing and how I pronounce each syllable. And in that respect, I would like to start to say that the one thing I don't want to be is something I'm not. So pretending something I'm not in order to be in a reality that doesn't exist. And I think that's the same thing. Let me phrase it a bit different. I don't want to pretend to be something I'm not to live in a world that doesn't exist. And what quite might this mean is that you can do all the right things for the wrong reason, thinking that it's all the wrong reasons that you're doing one right thing. Dang, I nailed that part. But what that means, let's go one step further. Who's there? The leaders of the world making a new world order substantially. I'm sure that you've heard the new normal and build back better. I'll let you take a minute to think who's been saying that if you are familiar with either one. We're going to be regarding those two statements, and I'd like to pair them each with the first things that we're saying. And so this is the third step, is that you could be going and making an entire world that doesn't exist in order for you to seem like something that you're not. King of the world pretending to be God. You might think, how the hell is that even possible? It's something to note because other things like lions and tin mans and scarecrows, those are just like creatures compared to the human. And I'm like really into God, so I know that God made us in his image, and so like other things that aren't human aren't blessed. And so when back to the anglerfish and the dragonfly actually looks like a big horsefly. So even though horseflies are angry and always trying to like kill you, the dragonflies are like nicer, even though they look the same. This is another identity that I'd like to understand with the behavior. And really, that's the whole notion. You might have not made the connection between the editing of cutting out the bottom legs and I'll make this pretty clear. The reason that is being pushed, the reason is being pushed after you. The reason is being pushed is that the bug isn't the issue and that you are. So you're dirty and filthy and need to be contact traced, meaning have social workers paid call you up and monitor where you're going to make sure you don't leave your house if you're in a quarantine of 14 days of passing a state borderline. And you need to change your body in order for this bug, in order to be part of what they are and where they come from. And what they are and where they come from are made up, and they're not from this world, the reality that doesn't exist. Because when Jesus banned the devil, it was over for him, because he's not allowed to come back from hell except for in Armageddon, where he creates his Antichrist. And so that's probably what the Nephilim are sent out to do, is to prepare everyone for the coming of that. And so what they would need to do is have you play pretend and make believe that you need to change in order for them to have their coming out party, or their last hurrah. And I wouldn't even be saying this, but I just got done talking, well, to the policemen who I had to bring this to their attention, that there's an entire house that has bird colonies within it. And that's because I've seen all these birds getting really excited and going in there. And there's been like 50 of them that go in and out of this abandoned building. And they're all treating it as like their house. So if they have like all these giant bird nests in there, well, it would be the one place where you would see this, like this mutation occurring, where I don't know exactly if that's even real, but I'd imagine that the animals are always reading us, especially birds, because they have the bird's eye view. And so when they're looking at us all the time, they know something's different, such as a bug spreading across the land and people changing their bodies with like different chemicals. And so when the bird sees us with their bird brains, they're thinking, well, now it's our turn and we have to start changing too. And so the one birds that would be the bad birds, angry birds, would be the ones that would be more willing to do something extravagant, such as mutating their species to get on the same level that we are at. And this is very much what the Nephilim, the fallen angels, were looking at us and how they're treating our genes in order to combat with the human species. The fallen angels were doing just that. Would give reason that a bird colony species would want to do that, especially if they're the bad birds, the red shoulder ones. And since I'm Christian, I know there's a thing called the Nephilim, and they're supposedly breeding with, they bred with, they're fallen angels that bred with a female. And so they're around, but you can't see them because they look just like us. But that's no reason to like start freaking out. But in the same respect, there's birds that are bad. I said earlier that the flies are, well, they're just out to get you, and there's just some animals where that's literally their main goal, is to be the aggressor towards the human species. Where gathering in a bunch, you could also use a cup. And what is so great with cups is that you can start squishing stuff inside of them and pushing it down more and more. However, if you put the lid of the cup into it, it'll get clogged, so you can't push stuff down as much as you could before without the lid in it. With the wind's picking up. Whenever I start talking about something important, and I know that it's like meaningful to saving the world and people having a better life, get like a wind picking up, as if like they all have different names for like bad spirits. When I say they, I mean different cultures. So the Muslims call them like something, and the others call them another thing. But back to the plasma. The plasma, when you're talking about determination and free will, the early plasma has to be considered, because it is how everything became a propriety. And by propriety, I mean able to make more than one choice. Is so important is that the plasma ostensibly was making all the decisions as it was hardening. What this means is, more specifically, all the alignments of stars that formed after the plasma solidified, that was all being calculated as the particles in the plasma were slowing down and cooling down. It actually mapped out everything in the galaxies that formed after the stars were born. That even rhymes. And so after that, then the planets formed in the galaxies, and then you've got yourself planet Earth and life on Earth. And then all the life on Earth is still in a continuum from the early plasma, because it can date back to that. So with all the predeterminations, we got ourselves an air horn. We got bells. See what I'm trying to, like, debunk free will, and we've got helicopters, air horns, bells, wind. Something really doesn't want me to break this, crack the code. I'll wait. Poodles, children, I don't know, you're testing the pipes, get it out, making sure it works for a zombie apocalypse. I get it. It's like we buy these giant air horns, so they got to keep them tested and make sure they work. I get it, I get it. I'm not saying it's possible nowadays, but in like 500 years, that's probably going to be a massive branch of which people would see as beneficial. And you can make free energy if you implement a Galilean cannon correctly.